Hey everyone, I'm Mike. I'm a staff sergeant with the Minnesota Army National Guard,
Hey, I'm Shauna. I'm a sergeant with the National Guard.
and we're your local District 196 recruiters for the National Guard. We're here today to talk to you about quite a few things. I'm just going to start off by introducing myself, kind of where I was from. I went to South St. Paul High School, graduated in 2010, and I enlisted into the National Guard when I was 19 years old. From there, after I enlisted, I went to basic training into my job school, and after that I came home and decided that college really wasn't for me. Did my first semester for law enforcement at Rasmussen and didn't really like it. So from there, I wanted to see what else the National Guard could really offer me. So I volunteered for a deployment in 2013, 2014. I went to Afghanistan where I was a gunner on a gun truck for 9 months when I was overseas. I had the time of my life. It was so much fun. I really got the best of both worlds with the National Guard of my active duty time and my part-time service. Came home from there and I was a union carpenter. Didn't really enjoy carpentry that much, so I volunteered to go on yet another deployment, and I went to Kuwait in 2015 and 2016 where I was in charge of my transportation section. Kuwait was pretty cool. It was more of a vacation than really a deployment. I went swimming at the pool there in Arifjan. I worked out with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I played hockey against the Kuwaiti national hockey team. Kuwait was awesome for me. And after that, I really just was very passionate about the Guard, and I wanted to do this full time. So when I came home, I volunteered to become a recruiter, and here I am now. So that's a little bit about me.
So I've been in the National Guard for about 6 years now. I joined when I was 17 years old in high school. So I kind of got a jump on it pretty early, and I was fortunate enough to be able to do that. I joined as a signal support system specialist, fancy title for someone who learns how to work on radios. I was assigned to a medevac unit here in Minnesota up in St. Cloud, and I had the opportunity to fly on helicopters every month and talk to helicopter pilots over the radio. I did all that while I was going to school as a full-time student out in Michigan, was able to use Minnesota's benefits to pay for my school, which we'll talk to you guys about, and I've had a great experience in the National Guard so far.
All right, so let's talk about the three tiers of the Army. If you guys think of the Army, you look at our uniform, it says U.S. Army on it, right? It doesn't say National Guard. When people think of the military, they think of the Army, the first branch they automatically go to and default to is active duty. So active duty is really you have a full-time job and you're traveling throughout the country, different bases like Fort Jackson, South Carolina, Fort Benning, Georgia, maybe Germany, Italy, if you get lucky to go on one of those special tours. So that's where someone joins, and college right now just isn't in their near future, and they just want to go travel around and get a full-time paycheck. Let's talk about the Army Reserves. The Army Reserves is very similar to the National Guard, and they're also kind of a little bit different as well. They're similar in the ways that we both serve part-time, so about 45 to 60 days a year. It's about one Saturday and Sunday, and then 2 weeks out of the summer. Their main mission is to support active duty in their worldwide missions. So they're only federally funded as well, and they do also, they're stationed within Minnesota, Iowa, somewhere throughout the country. Then they get activated and go accomplish their mission overseas. The National Guard, we're kind of unique in a couple of ways. We have two missions. Our main mission in Minnesota is to serve our state for natural disasters and state security. Right now, as you know, during this crazy time with COVID-19, parts of the National Guard in Minnesota are activated to help transport some medical supplies and things of that nature. We also have some units right now activated for floods that are happening, and that's really our main purpose, and that kind of happens throughout the entire country. We also have a federal mission as well. So our federal mission is still to support active duty in our worldwide mission. So like I said, I've deployed, I've been in Afghanistan and Kuwait. A lot of people think if I join the Guard, I'll never go overseas, I'll never deploy. Well, we're still all part of the Army, we all do the same training, so we still have that potential of going overseas.
Yeah, so like Mike said, all three tiers of the Army do the same training, so that means we all go to basic training. Basic training is 9 weeks and 4 days long, round up to 10 weeks, and you're just learning the fundamentals of being a soldier while you're at basic training. You then go on to advanced individual training, or job training. The length of that depends on the job that you choose, as well as the course, obviously. You get to choose your job here in the Minnesota Army National Guard, so whatever job you choose, we'll send you to that paid job training.
Yeah, a little bit about the entrance requirements. A lot of people don't really know all the requirements. They think you can't enlist in the military until you're 18 years old. It's actually not true. In the National Guard, you can actually enlist as a 17-year-old junior. If you're 17, you need mom, dad, or parental consent or your guardian's consent on a few forms, and you can actually start serving 1 week in a month as a junior in high school. It's actually pretty unique. I didn't do that. I didn't know about that opportunity. I joined 2 years after when I was actually eligible. So 17 to 35 is your range. You also have to be medically qualified, so you have to pass a military physical. It's not a bunch of push-ups or sit-ups or anything like that. It's a basic sports physical, vision, hearing, drug test, blood draw, things like that of that nature. You got to pass a background check. You got to pass our ASVAB, the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery Test. So it's our entrance exam. I guess you could compare it to the ACT, except for you can't use a calculator on our math sections. That's really the basic eligibility. If you really want to know if you're eligible, reach out to one of your local recruiters, and then we can let you know more in depth about your eligibility. But from here, we want to show you this cool little video that kind of goes more in depth about the National Guard. So we're going to kind of jump over to that, and we'll see you guys in a second.
In 1636, long before our country was known as the United States of America, the National Guard was established as our first military institution. But what is the National Guard? What is the purpose? How is it organized? And most important, why do people join? The purpose of the National Guard is twofold. One, to have a standing force of trained soldiers ready to move at the direction of a state's governor in times of natural disasters or emergencies. And two, to be mobilized federally in times of war and national need. That service could be close to home or overseas. The National Guard is distinct in that Guard members serve part-time and are known as citizen soldiers. At a minimum, they train 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks a year so that they are ready to respond whenever and wherever they are needed. In exchange for their service to their communities and country, National Guard soldiers receive compensation as well as numerous benefits. First, the National Guard will help pay for a 4-year college education or vocational school. In many cases, the Guard covers up to 100% of those education costs. And in the National Guard, you can serve part-time, close to home, while you attend college full-time. So you protect your own community where your part-time service will have the best, most direct effect on the people who matter most to you. National Guard members receive paid career training and earn a steady paycheck. There are also opportunities for advancement. By law, Guard pay increases the longer you serve. And as a National Guard member moves through the military ranks, each promotion earned is coupled with an increase in pay. National Guard members are also eligible for low-cost life insurance, healthcare benefits, and a 401k type savings plan. If you serve 20 years, you get a military retirement in exchange for your part-time service. Maybe the best benefit is the hardest to put into words. Serving just feels good. If it's your nature to help, you can't do more to help yourself, your family, and community than by becoming a part of the Army National Guard.
So now that we've learned a little more about what the Guard is, let's talk about the jobs that we can do here in Minnesota. About 93% of our jobs are support roles, and the other 7% are combat related. So we have some of our combat jobs include infantry, so they're the ones who are learning how to shoot all of the weapons, kind of running through the woods, doing more of the physical stuff.
You got armor, so that's our tanks. If you ever watched the movie Fury, that's kind of what they're doing. They're the ones learning how to operate, fix, and maintain all of our tanks.
With field artillery, you're taking a 100-pound round, loading it into a cannon, shooting it, and blowing things up from about 25 miles away.
Then you also have air defense, so that you could be stationed on land somewhere and you're the one defending a base for rockets or shooting down enemy planes.
Combat engineers learn how to destroy things, and that's how we say it in the simplest form. They're working with C4 and blowing things up.
Also, military police, in a wartime, they can be used as a combat role as well as in peacetime, where they can be used as just law and order.
So some of our support roles include human resources, so they're the ones who are dealing with all the paperwork in the unit, whether it's financial or otherwise.
And then also communications field. We have a very large communications field, and that could entail from anything working on radios, really anything that sends a signal. You could be the one operating it, IT, computers, cybersecurity. You could be doing, like I said, fixing the radios, fixing satellites, fixing radars, air traffic control equipment. Think of anything that sends a signal in the world. We have it, and we can operate it.
Mm-hmm. Our maintenance section is pretty big, so we have people who are trained to fix pretty much anything that we have that could break, whether it's a generator, a vehicle, or an aircraft.
Yeah, really for maintenance, think of anything from like a pistol all the way up to a tank or an aircraft and anything in between. That's really what our maintenance does. Then logistics, we also can do like a lot of the warehouse work for supply, making sure all of our uniforms are getting issued, weapons are getting issued. If you want to be a culinary specialist, cook, things like that, or even chemicals in our logistical field. There's a lot of things in our logistics that you can do as well.
Mm-hmm. And with transportation, we have people who are trained to drive all of our heavy vehicles and move our gear from point A to point B.
Yeah, then our medical field is very popular. We have everything from want to be a dental specialist. Our most common is I would say our combat medic or EMT. You get nationally EMT certified. You can do mental health. You can do radiology. You can, like a medical lab tech, so much stuff in our medical field right now that you can do. It's really awesome to get that experience.
One of our up and coming and growing fields is military intelligence. So we have people trained to read maps, listen in on radio calls, or even interrogate people.
Yeah, the cool thing about military intelligence is you're going to get a top secret clearance. That's going to look really good on your resume. Also, if you want to learn like Arabic or any other language, something like that, we can also pay you and send you to get trained with that. Also, let's talk about a little aviation. We talked more of mechanics. You can also do mechanics in aviation as well as its own specialty field. So you could be flying drones, fixing drones. You could be a Black Hawk mechanic. You could be a crew chief in the National Guard and transition into a pilot. You can be a Chinook mechanic and transition into a pilot for that machinery. There's so much stuff, the structural equipment, an interior electrician on aircrafts, air traffic control, aviation operations. Aviation is a sweet field, and I love talking about our aviation field.
And aviation kind of overlaps with multiple fields because we have the medical section with aviation. You can be a flight medic. Obviously, communications, we have to talk to the helicopter pilots. It really just, overflows into every other field that we have.
Yeah. Then for engineering, it's kind of like, think of the trade field. We have horizontal engineers building bridges, vertical engineers, combat engineers, geospatial engineers doing a lot of map reading. Things I like most about the engineers is our trades. So you can do carpentry, you can do plumbing, electrical, and anything in that field, drive like bulldozers, any of that stuff where maybe you don't want to go to college and you want to be working in the trades. This is a great way to get some experience, come in as a 2-3 year apprentice with our training that we're going to give you through our trade fields.
Right. And then finally, we have military police again. This time it's a support role rather than a combat role. Military police are considered a support role during peacetime. So rather than wartime and being considered combat, they're just kind of like a regular police officer, giving out speeding tickets and whatnot.
So that's most of our jobs that we have. A lot of them, most of them are available. And again, how you qualify for those jobs is based off that ASVAB score that we talked about. So what else is in it for you? I always explain the National Guard is really a way to taste test the military. You kind of get to dip your toe in the water before you do that cannonball, right? You don't really know if you're going to like military service. Growing up, I always thought being in the military would be cool, but I never knew if I wanted to do it Monday through Friday, every single day of the week. So that's why one of my reasons was I chose to do the Guard. I got to taste the military, see what it was like. If I really didn't like it, I was doing it 45 days a year at a part-time job, free college, and great medical insurance. For that part-time commitment of that 45 to 60 days a year, we're actually going to give you $22,000 a year for your college tuition. Doesn't matter what school you go to, a 2-year public community college, 4-year major universities, in-state, out-of-state, private, doesn't matter. 18,000 of that comes from the state of Minnesota because we are state funded, because if you remember what we said earlier, we have that state tuition because we serve the state, and then we also get the 4,000 of the federal tuition assistance, bringing you to that $22,000 a year.
Right. So on top of what Mike just said, you may also qualify for the Montgomery GI Bill, which is an additional $392 per month while you're a full-time student. So let's talk about college tuition here in the state of Minnesota. Based on collegefactual.com on the University of Minnesota Twin Cities, which is the most expensive public school in the state, the cost of tuition per year is $14,417. And that does not include the room and board costs, which are over $9,800. And then on top of that, you have $3,200 of additional expenses, such as books. So all of that added up for 1 year is $27,469, which is a ridiculous amount of money for 1 year of school. Now multiply that by 4 for a 4-year degree, and you're looking at $109,876 for a bachelor's degree. That is insane.
That's terrifying.
Yep, and that is without aid.
Yeah, so I know what a lot of you guys are thinking is like, hey guys, we're getting a lot of grants and scholarships for when we go to college. Still, according to that website, the average cost of the U with all your grants and scholarships applied is still $18,709. So multiply that by 4 years, you're still looking at $74,836 for a 4-year education at the
Still
University
a lot
of
of money.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
That's a huge chunk of change. So now we're looking at that minimum payment. Minimum payment on that $74,000 that we just talked about is going to be roughly $830.83 and change. So that's your minimum monthly payment on that student loan. That's a huge number. That's terrifying. That's you could use the $830 a lot more wisely, at least in my mind. So now if we look at that and we break it down to the compound interest, right? We talked about compound interest a little bit. So while you're in school, right, you're not paying off that student loan, but the entire time, that 6% is accruing on that student loan, and all that interest is just building up, right? And then at the end of that 4 years, you got that grace period, and then that student loan company wants that original $74,000 that you borrowed plus all that interest. So now you're paying that $830. And then over that time of 10 years, if you're actually making just that minimum payment, you're actually going to pay $99,699.96.
Way more than the original
So,
loan.
yeah, your original loan borrowed $74,000. Now you're paying close to $100,000.
That's insane.
Compound interest, guys, is a scary thing. Do the research on your student loans, where you're going to go to school. Take the time to figure out how much you're going to make when you graduate, how much debt you're going to have. We still know people in their 40s, 50s that still have student loan debt and they're still paying it off.
Yeah.
All right, so what else is in it for me? We just talked about college, the college tuition benefits and things like that. There's a lot of other ins and outs that you get to, cool little perks of the Guard. So like healthcare benefits, very cheap healthcare for a part-time soldier. You're paying about $54 a month to cover yourself. I've never had a medical bill the entire 9 years I've been in the military. Our insurance, TRICARE, is really good. Life insurance up to $400,000 of life insurance to cover yourself. Retirement savings plans, VA home loans, that's something that's huge. Like for me, when I bought my first house, I didn't have to put 10 to 20% down. So, think you're just graduating college and you got all this debt that we just talked about, and now you got to come up with $10,000, $20,000. Like for me, like my parents didn't have that kind of money to float me that loan. So my VA home loan was allowing me to put $0 to buy my house. Have you used a VA home loan?
Yeah, I was able to buy my house with no down payment, and takes that burden off of trying to come up with thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars to put down on a home.
Yeah. Other things too, like just general random military discounts is always nice. I shop at Lululemon because I get 25% off there, so that's one of the reasons why I go there. But the one thing, like all that stuff is awesome. The tuition, all the extra stuff that comes with being in the Guard, graduating debt free is great. But the one thing I really want you guys to think about is the real world experience that you're going to get while you're going to college. Right? At the end of the day, you guys are all each other's competition. If I'm an employer, why do I want to hire Johnny or Jessica? What are you bringing to my company that the other 10 applicants outside aren't? Right? An average kid in college says, yeah, I got my 4-year degree, I graduated with a business degree, and I worked as a server and I worked at Starbucks and maybe a bartender, something like that. Right? Did a couple of internships. Not a whole lot of leadership skills, management stuff gained there. But if you look at someone who did very similar at the U of M or any other state college, graduated with a business degree, but also the last 4 to 5 years served in the National Guard as a financial specialist or human resources specialist, that quantifies your portfolio more. Right? You can talk about how many transactions that you've made, the small team that you've led, talk about the leadership skills, all the intangible benefits that come along with being in the military that employers are really looking for. Right? So you're obviously going to go to certain leadership schools. You're going to learn how to be a leader, a small team manager, and that's going to look huge on your resume. And that's what employers are looking for. I'm not saying that you have to join the Guard or the military to be successful. There's a lot of successful people in the world that don't join the military. This is just another avenue of approach that not many people think about. Like I said, you guys learned a lot today. Hopefully you know now the Guard isn't all about combat and blowing stuff up. A lot of different careers that you can do. Use us as a stepping stone to get to your career. That's how I really explain the Guard. I mean, anything else you want to add?
I would just say if you guys want to look at this opportunity, reach out to your local recruiter. If you're not in District 196 and we're not your representatives, reach out to your local recruiter, ask those questions, and just learn about it and see if it's a good fit for you.
Yeah, all it is, you guys come and sit down, talk with us for about 20 minutes or so. If you want to do this, awesome. If you don't, hey, we're going to take your name off our list. At least that way you made an educated decision. We talked to a lot of people that have never considered the military before in their life, and they joined, and it's like, it's kind of shocking.
They're very successful with
I
us.
didn't think that person was going to join, and so it doesn't hurt. Come in, sit down, chat with us. We'll see if you're qualified, see if this is what you want to do. Like I said, if so, awesome. But that's really what we're here for. If you guys have any questions, there's a lot of kids in the school. Our information is going to be put out. Reach out to us, please, on Instagram, Facebook, whatever your social media is, or however you want to contact us. But that's all I really have. So thanks, guys. Appreciate you listening to us, and have a great day.